And it is a good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth and Power Talks. We welcome you to Power Talks. I'm Beth Ann, and say good morning to Melody. Good morning, Melody.
Melody, good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Look at that. I love the tap dance. Love the tap dance. I know our listeners are just rolling their eyes around thinking, these girls need a life. These girls need a life.
This is my life.
That's mine, too.
This is my life.
And they are our family out there in listening land. We appreciate every one of them and love them. I have a story. It's not really news. It's just research and advice. Not that we are older women. I'm not implying that at all. But it says veggies are good for older women's hearts. Do you eat a lot of veggies?
Well, is that news?
Well, it is. It just came out today. It's an article from Newsmax.
Isn't that something we already know?
Well, anyway, it's concentrating on older women. The biggest benefit seems to come from the vegetables, including like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower and broccoli, and those kind. And it says that eating these strong-smelling veggies was linked to the less thickening of the carotid arteries located in the neck. It says these findings reinforce the importance, and it reinforces it, of adequate vegetables, adequate vegetable intake with your diet. So it recommends to include a couple of them, and it said on the upside, the benefits are found whether you cook them or eat them raw, but of course raw is better. You get less benefit from the cooked, but you do still get benefit from the cooked, so you don't have to work so hard to digest them. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's just reinforcement there. It's another study.
Well, a lot of those things like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, they're very high in vitamin K.
Yes.
And that could be a tendency to thicken your blood also. So you do have to be careful and everything. Even vegetables have to be in moderation, I think, to some degree. But
I agree with that. It was talking about the keeping maybe if your blood's thicker, it pushes the carotid artery out and gets it thinner. I don't know. Push it out.
Or just eat a lot of cashews.
No,
I'm just kidding.
How's that working for you?
Not good.
Oh, gracious.
But,
yes, the strong-smelling vegetables, I had to kind of chuckle at that one. So, anyway.
I love Brussels sprouts.
I do, too.
But I have a bad habit
of
sprouts.
Of eating too many, or?
No, I have to put a little bit of mayonnaise on them.
Oh, that sounds nasty. Oh, my gosh. I thought you were going to say you were covering them with cheese whiz or something.
No, I have to put mayonnaise on them.
That, I don't even want to go there. That's one of those strange things that people do, I guess. Where did you learn that habit?
Oh, I love mayonnaise. When I was a kid, I used to have mayonnaise sandwiches.
Well, we did that too.
Not Miracle Whip. We didn't have Miracle Whip when we were kids.
No, we didn't either. That came later. Has more sugar and stuff in it. But the two combinations there, the Brussels sprouts and the mayonnaise, just
try it. Don't knock it until you try it.
Now, is that the cooked boiled, or did you grill them, or? I like them grilled. They're really good.
They are really tasty. Roasted, they're also very good. Roasted, I can eat them without mayonnaise.
Otherwise, she's got to drench them and dip them in mayonnaise.
Dip them. I need my mayonnaise dip. I don't eat a lot. Just a little dot on them. Just enough. Anyway, so my mother used to cook them in a pan with butter, just butter. And she'd brown them to the point where they were really a dark brown. She'd caramelize them, and then they were always tasty. But, with a little dab of mayonnaise, you can pretty much eat anything.
Apparently.
But when
I've heard people doing that with peanut butter, and that just kind of grossed me out. Peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches, but.
That is kind of just peanut butter and banana is good. It is good.
Now, the listeners, they probably turned us off now, so it's just you and me. I like peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. A dill pickle. Not a sweet pickle, a dill pickle, peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. And usually people think I'm crazy, but I really like that.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah. Okay, if you try that.
I love peanut butter, too.
I'll have to try the mayonnaise on.
Okay. You know what's so funny? People drink pickle juice. Did you ever hear anybody drink pickle juice?
They drink pickle juice because it helps with cramps. Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. But you also have to be very careful because it has high sodium.
Yes, it does.
Carla, the lady who works for me, her mother, she's 90, and she was drinking pickle juice in order to, to help with the cramps. And she ended up in the hospital, and they think that the only reason that she could have been the high sodium from the pickle juice. And my aunt, she's 85, 86 down here in Berlin. She drinks pickle. She's a vegetarian, but she drinks pickle juice just because she likes it. Like, okay.
Well, that's a little puckery, but my husband has a problem with the cramping and stuff when he's out working in the heat, and his heart doctor suggested that he drink what kind of spritz water? What is that that you use in your drinks and stuff?
Seltzer?
I can't. No, yeah, seltzer. It's Canada Dry something, and it's but it's got quinine in it.
Yeah.
And they can't prescribe to quinine anymore. But he told him, you just drink a little bit of that, and it works. It works. But a friend on his crew last year, he's still laid off this year. The friend on the crew that he was managing last year, he does the pickle juice. Just drinks the pickle juice out of the jar. So, yeah.
Interesting.
We need to have our health gal back on.
We do. So very interesting. But
very interesting.
What else? Should we get serious or no?
We should get serious for a little bit here. I think we've done enough damage in the first segment. We know there was a shooter yesterday, a YouTube shooter. And, of course, YouTube came out and they had stolen some more things from, unbeknownst to them. They didn't realize they were stealing them. No, that was Facebook, not YouTube. I'm sorry. But it was YouTube that had the shooter. And it was a female shooter, and they believe it was a domestic squabble that went bad. And she went in and shot people, and then, of course, they believe she turned the gun and killed herself. They think it was a domestic, not a terrorist attack. And it's kind of got them all befuddled because usually a woman isn't the one that goes in and does the shooting. She used a handgun, not a rifle, not an AR. And so, anyway, it was kind of sad watching that. Every time we're kind of getting a little trigger gun shy or something every time we hear these attacks, and it was definitely, I don't know why they think that's going to fix things, or I guess it ended it for her in the domestic squabbles or the pain they're going through at that moment. People tend to concentrate on the pain instead of the positive, and that's kind of sad in this day and time. I see that an awful lot. I think we mentioned it, or I mentioned it several weeks back, that why do we have a nation of people that have to have so much help with their emotions, that they can't handle life, they can't realize that some sad moments and depression are natural. It's how you grieve. I mentioned that whenever I lost my dad, and my mom was bad, and my brother was giving the family a rough time, I had a doctor that wanted to immediately put me on antidepressant medications. I said, no, I just got to toughen up and get through this. And I know that's not the case with everyone. I'm not trying to say no one ever needs help. But to go in and kill other people or attempt to kill other people because you had a spat with your boyfriend, I guess it's just
but there's other reporting. I don't know which is true, but there's other reporting on there where she had actually gone missing, and the father had called the police, found her sleeping in her car, and her father said that she hated YouTube because they were controlling her account.
Oh. Interesting. I had not heard that at all.
This was an interview Tuesday night with the Bay Area News Group that Ismail Agdam, I guess the father, said his 38-year-old daughter told her family a couple of weeks ago that YouTube had been censoring her videos and stopped paying for her content. She was angry. And then she had gone missing. They found her. So the police were involved to some degree. The officers made contact with the woman after the license plate of her vehicle matched that of a missing person out of Southern California. Let's see if this article says any more about that. I don't know. She was protesting about equal rights and animals. And so, they're going to push this under the rug.
I'm sure they will.
They're going to push the real reasons, and I'm sure, the YouTube and everything else has been scrubbed as far as finding any other videos and so forth. On January 28, she recorded a video of herself lamenting her perceived discrimination by YouTube, particularly railing on how YouTube determined her ab workout video was too racy and therefore filtered it. She's been discriminated and filtered on YouTube, and she's not the only one. She was wearing, and there is some video out there, but the video really didn't have anything bad in it.
Well, that's interesting. I did not see that. Where did that come from? Where did that?
This is the Mercury News. I guess it's a Bay Area newspaper.
Okay. Well, the one I got was actually from yesterday, and it was on the Daily Caller, which is so. Yeah, so if they wrote it yesterday, they may not have known this other from Mercury.
They might not have it updated yet. Okay. So,
right.
It was funny. I heard the reporting on this, and I think one of the funniest things, it isn't funny, but it's really true. There was a reporter saying, well, that they were trying to ask people coming out what was going on, and, some of the employees of YouTube and so forth. And they were saying, well, lots of times the first time you interview someone, their story is totally different, 20 minutes later when you re-interview them. I'm thinking, yeah, that's because they're told to change the story or, whatever. Lots of cases. I mean, the truth to me, I think, is sometimes the very first story that you hear. And then it gets censored and filtered after that, and, you can end up with certainly a different type of looking story, or the truth, the truth becomes a little more cloudy. But to me, I get there's shock and everything else involved, but usually I would think the first interview is probably the most accurate, in descriptions and so forth.
Interesting.
It's just my opinion.
It's your opinion. We're stuck with it, as Grandma used to say.
That's what I think. But so anyway, yeah. So
I have. We're getting ready to head into the first break, but I have a couple of different articles regarding the EPA and Chief, Scott Pruitt, and I think they're kind of interesting. They are making some headway, and he talks about how difficult it is because of the infiltration and it embedded in there on the. In the EPA from the Obama administration, and probably even before that. So I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit. But we're going into a break, and I don't want to just get started on it and then have to quit. So I'm going to wait till we come back, and we're going to talk about the EPA. They're doing some good things, but it's a battle every step of the way, and he has some kind of interesting things that he shares. I've got two different articles from different places here that I thought were kind of interesting. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and I had this article, and I wanted to kind of read a little bit about it, what's going on. This one is coming from Newsmax, and it's about it's some comments that Chief Pruitt has made, and he blasts that the toxic Trump resistance is definitely evident in the EPA, and they're battling it every step of the way. He says, embattled EPA Chief Scott Pruitt mentioned on Tuesday a toxic political climate and pushed back at critics who would resort to anything to stop the agenda of President Donald Trump. He says there are people that have long in this town done business a different way, and this agency has been the poster child of it. And so do I think that because we are leading on this agenda, that there are some who want to keep that from happening? Absolutely. And do I think that they will resort to anything to achieve that? Yes. It's toxic here in that regard. It goes on to say, this president's courage and commitment to make those things happen, and him empowering his teammates in each of these respective agencies to say, go forth and get results and get accountability. It's happening. It's happening here. It's happening elsewhere. And do I think that this is something that some folks don't like? Absolutely. And do I think they'll use any means to stop it? Absolutely. And it is frustrating, he says. We're leaning in. When a pitcher throws to you inside and tries to knock you off the plate, you get back in the box, get up close to the plate, and dare him to throw it inside so you can pull it and knock it out of the park. He says, look, the goal here is to focus on getting results, and as the noise happens, getting the job done. And that was from Newsmax. That was some of his comments, which I thought were very interesting. And then the other one I have here is coming from the Heritage Foundation. It's the Daily Signal. And it says here that in a victory for American families and consumer choice, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt has announced the agency will be revising aggressive fuel economy standards set in place by the Obama administration. It says, working with the Department of Transportation, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Why do they do that? The EPA will revise efficiency standards for cars and light-duty trucks for the model years of 2022 through 2025. In 2012, the Obama administration hastily ramped up the standards, which set a target for 54.5 miles per gallon for a model by the year 2025. New fuel efficiency standards created a number of unintended consequences, including higher prices for new cars and costly retooling of existing auto plants. In 2016, the Heritage Foundation analysis estimates that Obama fuel economy mandates increased new car prices by $6,800, more than the pre-2009 baseline trend, and eliminating the more aggressive standards would save the 2025 car buyers at least $7,200 per vehicle. So I found this kind of interesting. It says, it goes on to say, as my colleagues detail, economists and engineers accurately predicted that the 2016 standards would hurt consumers by at least $3,800 per car. He says, nor would the Obama standards have had a significant climate benefit, which is, they were all talking about the climate change. In fact, there would have been virtually no effects. The increased fuel efficiency often leads to more driving, which cancels out some of the reduced carbon dioxide emissions. But even if fuel economy standards reduced carbon dioxide as much as the Obama administration purported that it would, the averted warming would be at most thousandths of a degree Celsius by the year 2100. So they are trying, and they're trying to cut things and make them a little bit more common sense. But I thought that was interesting, both the comments that he had made about the battle that they have fighting everyone that's there from the previous administration or administrations that are definitely on board with climate change and definitely on board with restrictions and mandates more and more and more against the American people and products. We know we need some standards, but they go way overboard. Way overboard.
Does it say what they revised, the 54.5 per
what they revised it down to? No, it did not say that. Well, unless it was in the latter part of the article, but I don't think it did. Because it was quite a lengthy article. It's just letting up on it. I mean, that's 54.5 per gallon. That's a pretty good,
Well, 2025 is, as quick as time goes by, it's still a ways away.
Yes.
And, with technology advancing, and I think there's, these battery operators, there's a big change. We have gasoline, and it's a culture. It's our culture, our automobiles, gas-powered and so forth. But they did come a long way.
They have.
Far as, I can't.
I remember the first pickup truck that we bought as a couple. We'd been married a year, I think, and we bought a pickup truck, traded in his old used car for a pickup truck, and I think it got about 8 or 9 miles per gallon. It was really a gas guzzler. It was a Chevy pickup truck, but it sure didn't get very good gas mileage. So we've come a long way, baby, on that.
We really have, and so I don't know where that was revised to. If it went back to the old standards or medium and so forth. But, and again, 2025, we'll just have to wait and see just how much savings do you actually have on a vehicle.
For in the cities, they should invent a car that actually takes in the smog and runs on smog and turns it into clean air. That's what they should do.
Well, there's been reporting for years. Dozens of years, long time, decades, that automobiles could be powered by water. There's patents out there.
Steam engines.
Patents have been, there's patents in order that have been that would what am I trying to say here? That would power an automobile much more efficient than the process of oil.
I'm fairly certain that the OPEC would be fighting that one tooth and toenail.
Yeah, and so is our government now, because we're turning into an oil production country now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, with their trying to you know, put in more oil rigs in the oceans and so forth and whatnot, and so you know, it's, you know, the Saudis are, are heavily invested. The United States is heavily invested, particularly with the petrodollar. Oh my, what would happen if, you know, we weren't so dependent on oil anymore? What would that do to the petrodollar? So there's a lot of things going on, and so it is interesting. We were talking about, you know, we hear about these big cuts for EPA and everything, but the big spending bill, they only cut, the administration wanted, I think, 31%. I think President Trump is proposing for the next fiscal year of 31%.
A cut of 31%.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. So we're not sure exactly what was cut within the, but they didn't get any drastic cuts in this last spending bill.
Did you ever hear about Strong America Now? That organization. I don't think they exist anymore. It was in 2012 election. And this guy, and I can't remember his name, was heading that up, and it was about cutting every department by 25%. He said every department can take that hit. And then you reanalyze it the next fiscal year, and you reanalyze it, and you reanalyze it each time. And he claimed he could get us out of debt by, I can't remember, I think it was 2017. And they were giving classes to the candidates who were running for president. And all of them, except for one on the Republican side, and I don't think any of them on the Democrat side went to it, went to some of these classes. And but it was Strong America Now. And this man, that's what he did for a living, was he focused on bringing companies that were struggling, bringing them back into the black from the red, or helping increase their revenue. And but you go in and you cut everything. You don't just start firing people, but you cut everything 25%. We know they have a lot of crazy spending, and if they want to keep their budgets, whether it's on the state level or local level or federal level, they have to spend that money that they get to get that and more the next fiscal year. So they'll do things like buy all new furniture for their offices. I've seen them do that here in the state of Missouri, so that they can spend all this money and they won't lose that in the budget. But this gentleman, the only one who didn't go, that was when Newt Gingrich and I think Herman Cain was running, and several others were running, and of course Romney. And the only one of those candidates that did not attend Strong America Now was Mitt Romney.
Huh.
He refused to attend it and sign, that they would do, if they got elected, that they would try to I think they signed a paper, but I'm not sure. But they did go to the classes, but not Romney. He refused to do it.
It's funny. I'm not a fan of Warren Buffett. But a couple of years ago, he said that he could end the deficit in 5 minutes. Everybody says they can end the deficit, but nobody. What do we do with the past deficit? What do we do with all that other debt? But he says you just passed a law that says that any time there is a deficit of more than 3% of GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election.
I think that's a good idea. I think they should forfeit their income as well. If they can't keep it in check, then they need to be the ones suffering, not the American people.
Not the American people. He says no tenure, no pension. A congressman collects a salary while in office and receives no pay when they are out of office. Congress, past, present, and future participates in Social Security. All funds in the Congressional Retirement Fund move to the Social Security system immediately. All future funds flow into the Social Security system, and Congress participates with the American people. It may not be used for any other purpose. Congress can purchase their own retirement plan. Congress will no longer vote themselves a pay raise. Congressional pay will rise by the lower of the CPI. Congress loses their current health care system and participates in the same health care system as the American people. Congress must equally abide by all laws they impose on the American people. All contracts with past and present congressmen are void. The American people did not make this contract with congressmen. Congressmen made all these contracts for themselves. Serving in Congress is an honor, not a career. The Founding Fathers envisioned citizen legislators, so ours should serve their terms, then go home and back to work.
I agree. That's called statesman.
Yep.
We have Joe from Arkansas. He's been holding a little while listening to us jabber. Joe, how are you doing today?
Oh, still a little on the chilly side, although it's supposed to warm up today. How are you?
We have sunshine, and we're not going to complain. I do love the sun. I'm doing good, though. Thank you.
I think we're supposed to see it today. I wanted to comment on the car fuel efficiency business, and I think the whole problem here is that there isn't really anything of a free market in energy technologies. You know, the real free market in energy technologies has been so much interfered with, I think. And the reason I say that is I've got a book by a farmer from West Texas called Son of a Farmer, Child of the Earth. Forget the author's name. But he says in that book that he knows a mechanic personally who invented a device that would allow the average car or pickup truck to get 60 to 80 miles per gallon. And that he actually patented the thing, and I think he actually gave the patent number in the book. I'm not sure about that. I don't remember all that clearly. It's been a few years since I read the book. But anyway, he said that the guy wanted to get into business manufacturing this thing, and some men from the government came and told him that they would kill him if they manufactured the thing, and so he did not do that. And then completely independently, I've got a friend who's originally from Louisiana, and she told me that she knew a guy in Louisiana that invented a device that would allow the average car or pickup truck to get about 60 to 80 miles per gallon. And she said that this guy was real excited about this. You know, he wanted to make a lot of money. He thought this thing was going to make his fortune. And then he was heartbroken. He came to her heartbroken one day because he said that some men from the government had came and told him that they would kill him if he manufactured this thing. And then another time, I remember some years ago, I read a newspaper story about a young fellow in Sri Lanka who had managed to get his car running just on water, and the paper described how he had traveled 200 or 300 miles or so around Sri Lanka, running his car just on water, and how he wanted to get into business manufacturing this thing. And again, we've never heard anything about it. And personally, I've seen, personally, I'm not much good at working on cars. I don't do all that much of it. It doesn't interest me all that much, but I've noticed how extremely intelligent and inventive and so many of the people that do work on cars are. So I don't think it's at all, outlandish. I don't think it's at all impossible for so many of these smart, ingenious people that do a lot of work on cars and that like to work on cars could have invented something like that. But it looks to me like this free market in energy technology has been suppressed, and that's why the fuel efficiency of cars is still so low. That's how it looks to me.
There was an older man that used to call in on Derry Brownfield's show a lot, and he was quite elderly. I'd say he was in his 90s at least. And he claimed that he had invented, and he knew exactly how to, and I think it was an alternative to fuel. So I don't remember if it was water and steam or what it was, but he was an inventor and he was an engineer, and he had done that, and nobody would listen to him, and nobody would, but he had the answers that would solve the problem. But, that's not what they want. They don't want to solve the problem. Really, it's all about money, and it's all about getting our money. And that was a little bit of a flashback. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
I can't remember that gentleman's name, but he used to call in quite a bit, and he was hard to understand because his voice was quite quivery, but he was really an intelligent gentleman. So,
no, it's just the same thing. We hear all the time that there's cancer cures locked up in a vault because you make much more money on the treatment than the cure. So,
isn't that sad?
It truly is sad, and I don't think the vehicles and the replacement of oil and gasoline for powering an automobile is any different. There's more money to be made, and particularly now that we have, the petrodollar.
I used to give to the American Cancer Society because my mother suffered from breast cancer years and years ago, and I quit giving to them because they would not allow alternative research, for anything outside the pharmaceutical realm. They wouldn't allow and look into any of that, and I quit supporting them because I thought, well, you don't really care about finding a cure. If money cured it, that would be cured, and so would a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. They just keep grabbing the money, and I'm not saying everyone that's involved with the American Cancer Society is bad, or that I'm not trying to guilt anybody else into not giving. I lost my dad to colon cancer. Mom had breast cancer twice, but we actually lost her to Alzheimer's, and I just don't give to it anymore because they only look in certain corners, and I thought they should broaden the scope and try to find a cure. So we have Neil on. Neil from Missouri. Neil, how are you today?
Oh, doing all right. Staying warm. Still a little chilly down here.
It is chilly, but the sun is shining. I'm so happy about that.
Had to break the ice off the water this morning to wash my hands.
It was cold.
They're predicting the next couple of nights. So going to get more freezing weather over the weekend. But as far as this fuel economy goes, there is a physical limit as to how much energy you can get out of a water, like with a hydrogen fuel cell, gas, diesel, whatever. There's a limit to how much energy is there. And a specific amount of weight, like in a car, has a minimum amount of energy required in order to move that car. Now, a buddy of mine had a pickup truck. He put a lawnmower carburetor, made a pre-carb, put a lawnmower carburetor on top of his old carburetor. I'm talking about an old pickup like you had, back in the 60s. And, fuel economy was about 8-9 miles per gallon. He got up to 30 miles a gallon by using a pre-carb.
Mine was a 72. Let's get honest here. Mine was
well, his truck was back in the 60s. But
still makes me older than I am, Neil.
It's back. It's back when you were lucky if a pickup got 8 or 9 miles per gallon, and he got 30. I think 32 is what he finally maxed out at. But they've done that now with computers. They've got the fuel efficiency now using these computers to where they're getting on average 30 miles a gallon with a big heavy pickup truck. But the hydrogen fuel cells, they were invented back in the 1800s. But the limit on them has been the expense of the catalyst, which is platinum. Well, now a guy's invented a fuel cell that can operate off of chemical dyes that he uses on a 3-inch ceramic square. And it's going to make it possible once they downsize it. Right now, they're only manufactured in large generators, type hydrogen fuel cell generators that Walmart has purchased 3, put in their world headquarters here in southwest Missouri, and then there's IBM put 3 big ones in their world headquarters, which are backup generators that run off of anything, hydrogen-based, natural gas, propane. They haven't ridden into water because then you've got the electrolysis problem. You got to have electricity to break the water down into hydrogen and oxygen in order to operate the cell. But a lot of these things, these so-called patented, extreme gas mileage inventions, I've studied them. I've had a buddy that used to like to buy those patents, buy copies of those patents, which you can get from the U.S. Patent Office. And I'd go through them and look at them. And it wouldn't take me 15 minutes to a half hour of studying what they had there to tell you that where the flaw was. Like in the, they had a free energy electric motor that operated off the magnetic field of the Earth. And when you slid the armature into the windings, into the field, the armature would start to turn. So the problem was, to do that, you had to use permanent magnets, which require cobalt, which is radioactive, and you have to have a federal license to even get the stuff, and they run about $13,000 a pair. And economically, it's just not feasible to even a 1-horse or 2-horse electric motor for a couple $100. Who's going to spend $13,000 for permanent magnet motors just to get so-called free energy? It's not really free when you get right down to it. Plus, you've got the problem of shielding the cobalt, so that people don't get poisoned by the radioactivity from the magnets that are used to operate these things. So for all these gadgets and gizmos and things that people claim can do this and do that, you better get an engineer to take a look at the patents on them, because 9 times out of 10 there's some kind of basic flaw in them that's going to prohibit their use. The most promising thing are these new hydrogen fuel cells. This guy from India came up with these dyes, and on a 3-inch ceramic square, he can now do the same thing that they were doing with platinum on the fuel cells, and that's going to make a big difference. They figure within 10 years they'll have them available for home use. You know, they'll put them into production where you can buy one for your house for like $10,000, run natural gas into it, and it'll produce all the electricity you need to run your household. Right now, because of economies of scale, only the big businesses can afford them at this point in time. And like I say, Walmart and IBM, I know, have installed them. I saw a documentary on TV about it. And but you know, things will get better. But I'm old school. I think people need to go back to firewood and candles and living in caves. So you know, just if you don't cut your lifestyle down where you don't need that stuff, because it's going to get cut down for you, either by, you know, solar flare, electromagnetic, you know, pulse, ice age, super volcano, like if Yellowstone goes off again. You know, it's just all these different things that could happen if you're already living a lifestyle where you're at a minimum. You don't have to deal with that. Things aren't going to change much for you. All you're going to have to do then is be prepared to ward off the cannibals who are going to be after you because they can't find food anywhere else.
It goes back to that, keep it simple. And I won't say the last word, but keep it simple. All right. We appreciate the call, Neil. Enjoy the sun. Stay warm, bro.
Okay, I am. All right. Bye.
Thank you. And I hear the music. We're going into a break. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. That's 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Emphasis on melody, because I told her this segment was hers. She's wake up, Melody. Wake up.
It is just one of those days, and, I turned on early morning news, and, the markets were down 500 points, the futures, the Dow futures were 500 points. They opened up down. They're currently down about 300 points. We had a rise yesterday, a big day. One day they're down big, the next day they're up big, and usually those big ups they're just short coverings, and so today we're down just 300 points on the Dow. The NASDAQ is so they're bringing it back, but there was news that was released. Today's, and of course they're all blaming the tariffs, the tariff wars. China came up, they stepped up their trade fight with the U.S. They're retaliating against the proposed tariffs. So China's, they're putting tariffs on goods that are targeting high-value American exports, from airplanes to soybeans. So, and this was done after the Trump administration unveiled plans to impose tariffs of 25% on Chinese products worth $50 billion. So the China State Council announced today that it would levy penalties of the same rate on U.S. goods of a similar value. Now, the Trump's list would affect 1,300 categories of goods. China is targeting a narrower range of 106 types of U.S. goods. So Trump, of 1,300 categories of $50 billion, makes those categories less affected than the 106 of what China is doing. But the soybeans, it'd be interesting to find out what type of impacts are these truly going to have. You're going to hear the debates from both sides, but what's the reality of it? What is the reality of it? I mean, we all agree tariffs are good, but what are the impacts? And, this is just a tit for tat. And China's retaliation are sport utility vehicles. Well, how many sport utility vehicles are driven in China? I mean, they can only ride bicycles over there because the population is so great in the big cities. So, the United States are the ones who have the love affairs with the sport utility. Maybe Europe, to some degree, they like those Mercedes larger vehicles, but but usually those are driven commercially. But for people who are trying to get to work and so forth, usually it's just a little vehicle. The smaller, the better, because it's, I could never drive in those countries. But so other agricultural products, beef, sorghum, goods that were chosen to hit U.S. states. Of course, they're saying that support Donald Trump. I don't buy that. I don't think they're specifically targeting those who, this is actually maybe they are, but this is a Wall Street Journal report on this. Chinese government officials describe China's response as defensive and force upon Beijing's in hopes of compelling the U.S. into talks to ease the country's trade frictions. Both sides have put their lists on the table. Now it's time for negotiations. I mean, they put $50 billion on the table. I mean, what's there to negotiate about? And, of course, it is all about the technology, theft, and, that's what they always bring the conversation to. But, it's just, Beth and I were talking prior to the program. I wish our country would have protected our businesses the way China has.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, for China to join the World Trade Organization, there are rules that they have to follow. Now, if they're not abiding by those rules, then and they have them as the most favored nation, pull away their ratings. Is that going to hurt? I don't know. Pull them out of the World Trade Organization. Does that mean all those trade agreements are defaulted on? I really don't know. But to me, I don't think $50 billion is that big of a deal. The markets seem to think it's a big deal, as I mentioned. But you had the job market. And this is the ADP. They increased private payrolls by 241,000 in March versus an estimated 205,000. Now, come Friday, I had volume on my computer. Come Friday, the government will release their numbers. So we'll see, if what difference is between the two. Usually ADP is wrong, and then usually by significant. So either the U.S. government's going to come out with a 275,000, or it'll be lower than the 241. Service providers added, and this is according to ADP, service providers added 176,000 new jobs, while goods producing industries contributed 65,000. And so everybody says that the job market is rip-a-roaring. Companies kept up the pace in March. Let's see if there's any other entries. I'm just reading this for the first time. I guess that's, this is just an estimate. This is the ADP's numbers. We'll have to see what the government actually releases. So the markets did turn around after that report came out. And we'll go from there. I just think it's a multitude of things that's happening. It could be the tariffs. It could just be the debt. I think you sign a $1.3 trillion spending bill when we're already $21 trillion in debt, and we added over $1 trillion just in September. I think these are the real issues.
And I think it's a telltale sign that Congress won't or can't refuses to do anything to take any kind of measures to back up the truck and start whittling away, because they refuse to stop spending. And I know it's so far gone now, would that even help? But when the president says, I want to cut this particular department by 31%, and what'd you say, they cut it by 0.1% or something 1%. Like that? Speaking of the EPA, which we were talking about earlier in the show, I think it's a telltale sign that they don't care. And they're just totally ignorant, don't know what to do about it. And so it's, there's other people, and I tend to not pay attention when somebody predicts a lot and it never comes true. But there are some that are predicting that the crash is going to happen this year.
Yes, absolutely.
And some of them are even saying yet in April, which, this is only the 4th. And so far, April's not going very well in the stock market.
Well, that's because their March deadlines didn't appear. Now they moved it to April. But, the first day of the second quarter of April was the worst trading day since the Great Depression. Yes. So the signs abound. There's signs that take us that are comparable to the 1929 crash, to the 2008. You could pick out all these times entering these great recessions that we've had, big pullbacks in the stock market, and there's all kinds of comparisons and equal problems. I still think it comes back to the debt. This is the problem. And I think this is the true impact. The rates are rising. I was reading today. You have companies. You have these big businesses that have been borrowing and getting basically free money. Now all of a sudden, free money, they're paying 4%. It's taking their money out of their profits. How much more stock are they going to be able to buy back to keep the market as high as it is? But the one thing that we do know, these governments will do whatever they can do to keep the stock markets high, because you have all of these systems that are tied to Wall Street anymore. The economy anymore is Wall Street. We don't have a country anymore. We have an economy, and the economy is tied to Wall Street. And they will do anything and everything to keep these markets worldwide from collapsing. And it's all part of it. And, that the connection between government and Wall Street really, that's the elite's bank. That's how they get their funding.
That's right.
And so all the money that people have invested in there helps destroy this country, basically, because you're supporting, and that's their bank. They're not going to let you walk away with it. No, they've allowed some. That was how they could, they were the carrot. Those that were able to walk away with great retirements and pensions, they were the carrot. That was the carrot that they dangled in front of every American in this country, thinking that we're going to be able to live the lifestyle of the elite. And it doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it doesn't. And we're out of time, Melody. We're out of time. I hear the music. I know, folks, there's just so much going on, and we try to come here today every morning to try to put a little light in it, but also put some common sense on it and tell the truth as best we can. Melody, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. We'll see you again tomorrow on Power Talk.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.